Guests of the Side Project Live are not necessarily those of the Illinois Libertarian Party, the National Libertarian Party, Radio Fubar, Tuieville, LRN.FM, the kindly old neighbor on the corner, some random jerk who just cut me off on I-80, the entire Broadway cast of Hair, Bruce Rauner or Pat Quinn, or the Martian Invaders. So there.
We'd like to invite you and all the members of your household
to gather around and join us now
for a very special episode of
Side Project Live. And what's so special about it?
I'm not wearing any pants.
You know who likes special entertainment like that? My mom!
Why don't you get a toupee with some brains in it?
Welcome once again, friends and neighbors, to another action-packed, side-splitting episode, whatever the hell this show is, Side Project Live. Once again, Morris, Illinois, this is Jim Goebel.
Hi, from Lockport, Illinois, in the basement, which is rather dark now that the sun doesn't come up until noon. It's Eric Ferguson.
And before we get started, just want to give out some of our contact info. You can call our Google Hangouts at 815-200-4912. Our Twitter handle is @thesideproject2. Our email is thesideproject2@gmail.com. If you post anything about us, use the hashtag TSPLive. And there you go. And as always, where is it? There it is. The Side Project Live is brought to you by DuPage Libertarians. DuPage Libertarians meet on the third Thursday of every month at 7 p.m. in Addison, Illinois, at the American Tap Pub and Grill, located at 701 West Lake Street in Addison, Illinois. $5 burgers, craft beer, what more can you ask for? Remember, you deserve a break today. So, there we go.
All right.
You're a bum! And that's all you'll ever be! A bum!
What's up, Dad?
Man, I'm having so much fun with the soundboard that I found. Pumping all of my sound effects through this. Like,
they are still pretty loud, though.
They are? I can turn that down still.
Yeah, they're a little loud. Not bad, but a little loud.
Yeah, let's try that. Okay, let's... There we go.
What's up, Dad?
And for anyone interested, this is called Jingle Palette, and it's pretty damn cool. Like, we could have this going on through,
because I love people.
We could have this going on under the show the whole day.
Yeah, I know this is 96 Party Radio.
I never adopted one of those, fake DJ voices. I probably should have. You're listening to all the hits all day, all night. But never got really too much chance to be on the air in the Chicago area. I did have one opportunity that was with, WONU in Kankakee, Illinois, which covered the Southlands barely. And that was on Thanksgiving Day because I was in training on the radio program at the school, and everybody else took the day off. So, I got one day on Chicago radio. Ooh. Right. So...
You are the best thing on the radio!
I gotta get some stuff from the movie Tremors. That was one of my all-time favorite movies. Has my very most favorite line. One of my very most favorite movie lines. Now that I can't think of it, it is. We plan ahead. That way we don't do anything right now. Earl explained it to me. And then one of my favorites from another movie. That's my wife in the background. Hi, wife. The movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and this line was an ad lib. There's a scene at the very beginning of the famous mashed potatoes scene where Richard Dreyfuss builds Devil's Tower out of the mashed potatoes.
Right.
The daughter chimes up, "I hate these mashed potatoes. There's a dead fly in mine." That wasn't in the script. And who was the actress? Terry Garr, as the mother, responded, "Just eat them anyway."
Hey, buddy, I'm not paying you to hear your thoughts on life. I'm paying you to sing.
Well, I have a microphone, and
Nope.
you don't.
So you will listen to every damn word I have to say!
Okay. You're listening to all the country hits right here on Side Project Live.
That's
Almost
great.
sound like an actual radio station. We should start our own morning zoo.
No kidding. Are you familiar with WWV?
I am not.
That's a time signal station. They're the longest operating broadcast station in the country. But they're not commercial. It's a government station, but they do have the record for being on the air first and for the longest. They've been there forever. And they broadcast time signals. That's all they do. Every minute, the time is, that's all they do. So, the joke there is if, Clear Channel or Cumulus or somebody bought them, they'd have a slogan, all the time, all the time. That's all they do. Is
brought to you by Kronos Limited.
I could dial them up actually while we're goofing off, but.
So how was your week?
Anyhow, what's happening?
Not a whole lot. How have things been with you?
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, they've
Okay.
been okay here too. I'm most likely going to have surgery at the end of the year on my foot because
Oh man.
when I walk, it hurts real bad, and
That's not cool.
and yeah, you know what really sucks is to pay for my appointments. We got that FSA card, the flexible spending account deal, and the thing that sucks most about that is that you can use it, but if there's something that they deem questionable, you got to email or fax them like a receipt for it, and I've had to email receipts for $5 copay at Walgreens Take Care Clinic.
Oh boy.
For my doctor's appointments at Resin Orthopedic and at my psychiatrist's office, and I'm like, why are you questioning these? I mean, they're legitimate, and it's like if you don't send it, they halt all your funds on that, and it's like just super irritating bureaucracy you got to go through. But I mean, I guess that goes with the territory, because the whole flexible spending account thing was a byproduct of the Republican ideals.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm telling you. But
You actually have the signal's pretty bad though.
that's the time station.
Yeah, so that's what they do. They just broadcast the time all the time.
all the time. Imagine if Clear Channel brought out like the NOAA weather radio stations. I wonder what they would do.
Well, and they do other things too. They do solar weather reports. So,
I'm gonna file a DCMA report against you for rebroadcasting that without express written permission of the government.
There you go. Speaking of healthcare, here's my second one. Every year, I can't read. Your Humana health insurance policy is no longer available. Coverage ending December 31st.
Yeah, gosh, don't get me started. My coverage went up again this year. Fortunately, it only went up $20. Unfortunately, I had to go to a lower plan. Otherwise, my insurance would have gone up another $100 again for the second year in a row.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to find. This is the second time now they've done that. The policy goes away because, it goes away thanks to rules. They actually recommend that I go to the exchanges and go looking for a health plan.
Delightful. Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous because I think I will, after I get a raise this year, which is going to be very, very pitiful, at least I think I'll actually be bringing home more money for the first time in like 2 years. Health insurance is great, but, I like having money to put gas in my car and food in my belly, too. Hey, I've got great health insurance, but I can't go anywhere or do anything. I got great health insurance, but I'm starving, It doesn't make any sense. That whole thing just makes people poorer and poorer because they have less purchasing power because they got less money.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, let's see. Mine comes to currently, which is probably going to go up, almost $6,500 a year in premiums. If I put that money into a mutual fund, you know, it could be self-insured in a matter of 10 years. The problem is I don't have that cash right now. If I had a bucket of money, then I wouldn't bother with the health plan, except in this country you have to buy one. Land of the free.
Yeah, no kidding. And one thing I love about that the whole healthcare thing is that when people talk about, oh, it's Obamacare, blah blah blah, the right wingers are all into that whole thing, but they don't remember or realize or just are totally blind to the fact that it's based on Romney's crap that he started in Massachusetts.
Well, yeah, and see, the whole thing is just a stupid dog and pony show. People forget that 2003, the Republican Medicare reform, they forced that through. It had only 2 Democrat votes, and it was the single greatest increase in health spending in the history of the United States up until then. Then along comes Obamacare, and they do the exact same thing, only no Republican votes. Mm-hmm. It's just so silly. How is it okay for one to do it, but not okay for the other one to do it? Guess what? They both do.
It's the whole blind eye thing. My wife posted an article from the Daily Cause today about how the Koch brothers, how they're just so totally evil, but George Soros isn't for some reason. Go figure. Are sending mailers to people in Illinois about getting registered to vote, and Democrats are doing the same crap, but hey, it's good when our guys do it, but it's horrible when their guys do it. Hey, here's a little clue for you. They're both evil. They're both doing the same crap. If you're gonna condemn one, better condemn yourself.
Yeah, I know. Somehow they get a free pass. I don't know.
We're number 1, and you can go suck poo. Something like that. George Carlin once said, "Remember when you were young? Being number 1 and number 2 are things that you did not want to be."
That's great. Yeah, I didn't intend on talking about healthcare, but yeah, I did get my letter just recently telling me that my coverage is going away. Good luck shopping for more. And they actually, when your health insurance company says, you might want to go look at the government plan because I don't think we're going to have anything for you. Now you know stuff is bad.
Yeah, no kidding. But hey, we wanted to take a different little tack this morning with the show because, it's the time of year when fright and scares are and it's the time of year when ghoulish creatures come out from beyond and terrorize people. But enough about election season. Let's talk about Halloween. So, in Halloween, scary movies, that's kind of the norm. And and I wanted to talk about horror movies for a little while because it's just, I love a good scary movie, especially slasher films. I am kind of a connoisseur of slasher films. I mean, those things run the gamut to from having a real budget and actually having a good story, kind of like Scream and I would say the original Child's Play, to the really, really low budget, made on a shoestring shot on video type crap, which some of that it can actually be kind of fun too. So what if you were on a desert island and could only have one horror movie? What would it be?
Mask of the Red Death.
Mask of the Red Death, not a choice that I was not something I was expecting. Now, what is
Mask of the Red Death right there? I was just gonna say, I'm not big into the slasher films. I like the Roger Corman stuff, all that B movie, ridiculous, crazy stuff. Mask of the Red Death though is that's special. That one's cool.
I saw one earlier this year, and what happened was I kept looking for stuff on Netflix, and every time I searched, this one movie kept coming up. It's called Trick or Treat, not Trick or Treat, which is the heavy metal slasher film from the '80s, which had Ozzy Osbourne and Gene Simmons in it. Ozzy Osbourne playing a priest on television who was denouncing rock music, and he got killed off by Sammy Kerr, the slasher. Oh, it was also starring the neighbor kid from Family Ties. Can't remember the character's name, but he was played by actor Mark Price, and that one was kind of weird, I guess. But this is Trick or Treat, and this is a movie from like about a few years ago. And this is an awesome freaking movie. It's an anthology, and it's all stories that are centered around Halloween in this one town, and they concern a bunch of beautiful women that have a secret, a high school principal who is a serial killer. Let me think. A tale about some mentally disturbed children that were drowned on purpose in a local quarry. And there's I can't remember what the fourth story was, but they're all tied together, and all of the stories intertwined. It's not like, here's this story, and then they do it, and then they end it, and they move on to something else. I mean, they're all the stories are interconnected by a character, and I think his name is Sam, who's he's just some kid in a burlap sack who has a jack-o'-lantern mask, and his weapon of choice is a lollipop that has a huge bite taken out of it, and he like stabs people with it. Oh yeah, the other story, the fourth story, which actually involves Sam, is about a school bus driver who doesn't celebrate Halloween. The whole thing repulses him, and how Jack kind of gets his revenge on him. And I'm telling you, man, this movie, I do not know why it was not released theatrically, because this was one of the best Halloween-themed films, one of the best horror films I've ever seen in my life, because it's funny. It's funny. It's sexy. It doesn't take itself seriously, but there is enough in there to scare you at the same time, and it is extremely well written and acted. And I just don't know why it was never released in the theaters. It was really, really good, and that's kind of becoming become a favorite of mine.
That's interesting. Yeah, have you seen the Geico commercial that's playing right now?
No.
Oh, it's pretty good. You got just four like young kids, they're 20 or whatever, and they're running from the bad guy, and they're like, let's hide somewhere. Let's hide in the basement. No, let's hide in the attic.
Yes, I have seen that one.
You've seen that one. All the bad decisions. When you're in a horror movie, you make bad decisions. I love that. No, let's hide behind the chainsaws. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, no, I have seen that one. That's a great, awesome commercial.
Funny. It's just something that all those stupid movies have in common. Now, I'm more into Bucket of Blood and The Blob and Attack of the Killer Shrews, all that junk. It's terrible.
Attack of the Killer Shrews. Saw the Mystery Science Theater 3000 version of that one.
I love that stuff.
That one was awesome.
Yeah, anything that Poe wrote or inspired, I usually like, and anything with Vincent Price in it, I usually like. So I have a double feature. And the great thing is, these movies are cheap. You go to the dollar store and you get, 2 or 3 on a disc for a penny. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah, even Walgreens around this time of year has like a bunch of double feature DVDs for like $1, and there's some real hidden gems on some of that stuff. One of them I got was actually a science fiction one, and it had a film called Slipstream, starring Mark Hamill, of all people. It was cheesy, it was bad, but it wasn't, but it was, enjoyable.
That's cool.
And you can go anywhere and find a copy of Night of the Living Dead. I don't know if you can anymore. I think they got the copyright thing straightened out on that, but for the longest time it was in the public domain because George Romero forgot to put a copyright notice on it, which was kind of weird.
Premature Burial and Mask of the Red Death. 2 movies on one for like $1, something like that.
Do you like Vincent Price?
I love Vincent Price.
Have you ever seen the movie Theater of Blood?
And here's House on Haunted Hill and Bluebeard in one thing. That was 50 cents or $1 or some crazy thing. Have I seen which one?
Theater of Blood.
Yeah.
Okay. You have seen that one. That is actually that is a fun damn movie. For anyone that hasn't seen it, Vincent Price, and it's a slasher film, and it is a slasher film, so to speak. Vincent Price plays an actor in London who's performing Shakespeare, and what happens is that he always gets bad reviews, and so he pretends to commit suicide, but then suddenly the critics that gave him bad reviews start to die off, and all of the deaths in the film are based on the deaths in Shakespeare's plays. And the movie it's kind of bloody, but there's some really, really gruesome scenes in it. There's one death where Vincent Price cooks up this one critic's dog and feeds it to him, and the movie is so damn entertaining. And I just watched it on a whim. Once again, it showed up on my Netflix queue, and Vincent Price has said that was one of his favorite movies to do because he could finally do Shakespeare, and he'd always wanted to do Shakespeare.
That's great. Yeah, I like all those, Peter Cushing and Peter Lorre. Yeah, big Vincent Price fan. That stuff is all good. Those are fun. They're all fun.
I still have never seen the Vincent Price original version of The Fly. I have always wanted to see that, but I've just never gotten a chance to.
Yeah, that's fun. I like that. I like the original Dracula. I like some of those movies. They're fun. They're corny, and that's half the fun. Just grab a cup of coffee and put the movie on and watch that. I love that stuff.
When you're talking non-slasher horror films, I think one of the best ones ever made, if it's not the best, it's certainly at the top, would be the Cronenberg remake of The Fly. There's just not much that's wrong or bad with that film. I mean, it's the story, the acting, the special effects. I mean, it all comes together.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then I like some, not all. I'm not into it like the kids are now. I like vampire movies and that kind of junk. But I'll watch Van Helsing before I watch crap like Twilight or whatever in the hell.
Well, Twilight is a horror movie, but not for the reasons that most people think.
Because it's just a horror to watch it.
it's horrific because how can people like this crap?
Yeah, it's a horror to watch the thing instead.
A horror and a chore. It's a chore.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh God, what was
And then I like films that are they're not horror films, but they're based on the premise underneath it. Stuff like Scary Movie. It's just ridiculous, that kind of thing. It's not a horror movie. It makes fun of that. Murder by Death is one of my favorites.
I've seen that one. I was younger when I saw that one, and I don't remember a whole lot about that, but I remember it being really, really good.
Yeah.
I remember having some pretty good laughs on it, and let me think. Clue was kind of the same kind of movie. I don't know if that one was as much horror, but I guess you could kind of maybe consider it horror in a way. It's more of a mystery, but that one.
As is Murder by Death. It's not a horror movie, but it has that that underlying premise. So that's the whole point. Is it's supposed to be this spooky thing, and someone got killed, and that's what happens in horror films. So that's kind of the idea. But yeah, it's not a horror film at all. It's a ridiculous comedy.
Now, have you ever seen any movies by Herschel Gordon Lewis?
That does not ring a bell.
Okay. We've talked about him before on the show, way back in the day, back when we were actually a pre-recorded podcast. He created the very, very first gore slasher film back in 1964. Actually, I think Psycho came out just before it, but his first movie, which was called Blood Feast, showed everything, whereas Psycho was more just like blood. I mean, this movie had entrails and everything in it. And what happened was that Herschel Gordon Lewis and the producer of his movies, they were doing like what they called nudie cuties and youth and rebellion type movies in the 50s and 60s, but suddenly those genres got crowded, and they were trying to think of something else that they could do to get some money in, and so they hit upon the idea of horror type films that showed everything. And so they hammered out a script in like 2 days for this movie called Blood Feast about this psychotic caterer who's making a feast to the Egyptian god Ishtar. And movie was horrible, terrible. I mean, they made it on a budget of like $20,000 or something like that. And this movie was just freaking terrible. But if it wasn't for this one film, Blood Feast, well, obviously it probably would have come later, but it's the distinction of being the first of the gore films. And all of the Freddy and Jason and Leatherface movies owe a huge debt to this one film. It's worth seeing once just to see where it all started. I can't recommend seeing it again. But there's an anecdote on the commentary for the DVD for this film, where the movie was filmed in Florida, but Herschel lived in Chicago at the time, and the movie there happened to be in Peoria, and a drive-in theater in Peoria was premiering the film, and they said, well, you know what, let's just drive on over there and see what happened, and there was a 2-mile long line of cars waiting to get into the drive-in theater to see this film. And cop rolls up, and they wave him down, and they're like, is there any way, we can get into the theater to see this movie ahead of everyone else? I'm the director, and this guy's the producer. And he goes, you're the producer and director? I should haul your asses into jail right now for creating this traffic backup.
Oh, that's great.
Oh man, the commentary on that DVD. Let me keep going here. After they made so freaking much money on this film, and that's all they were doing it for was the money, and they admit it. In fact, I actually tried to get Herschel Gordon Lewis. He's still alive. He's like in his 90s now, on the show to talk about it because I felt that was a Blood Feast was an important thing in the realm of First Amendment and First Amendment issues, and a very important thing about how capitalism works. But he didn't want to get on the show because he's like, I just did these to make money. There's nothing more to it than that. So sadly, he was intrigued by the idea first of coming on the show, but shot us down. But after they made so much money with that, they actually decided to quote unquote make a horror film that actually had a good story. And so they came out with the movie 2000 Maniacs, which was remade a few years back into 2001 Maniacs, which was really pretty good on its own. But they borrowed some plot conceits from the musical Brigadoon, if you can believe that. And what it is, it's about a town in the South that was destroyed by Sherman's March to the Sea in Georgia back in the Civil War. And this town comes back every so many years, and what they do is they lure Northerners into the town, and they kill them off. And it's not going to stop until they have killed off 2,000 Northerners. And they get, they lure several in, and they kill them off in many grisly ways. My favorite of which is being, those dunk tank things that they have, where the person sitting on the thing, you throw the ball at the target. They have it where they strap this lady at the, below the device, and there's a huge 2-ton boulder on top of the platform, and they're throwing balls at the thing, and then they hit it, and the boulder smashes the chick. And that movie is actually pretty decent for what it was. They did make a third movie together. It's called the Blood Trilogy. These 3 films. It was called Color Me Blood Red. It's about this failing artist who accidentally kills his girlfriend and finds out that the color of blood is just the perfect shade of red for his art, and so he starts painting with blood.
Right.
And his artwork becomes a huge overnight success.
Yeah.
Sadly, there's not much to recommend about that movie. The concept, I think, is hilarious, but for the most part, it's pretty forgettable. But on his own, Herschel Gordon Lewis, after that, created some other films. There was, let me think here, there was, I got a couple of them. The Wizard of Gore, that one is interesting. It's about this magician who takes women up on stage and performs these grisly magic tricks. But then when it's all over, they're like back to normal. Like he kills one on stage using a giant industrial punch press through her stomach, and the guts come out and everything. And then another one, he takes a railroad spike, pounds it through her head, and he puts his finger in and pulls her eyeballs out and everything. And then what happens is that once the trick is over, boom, they're back to normal. But then what happens is later on in the day, the week, whatever, he goes out, or these people go out, and they die from the injuries they incurred on stage. And it's a whole weird thing about what is reality, and it's a mind trip.
Cool.
They remade that movie, and once again, direct to video a few years back, once again called The Wizard of Gore, starring Crispin Glover as the Wizard. It's worth seeing just to see Crispin Glover's performance. That guy is freaking weird. He always has been, but I mean, I don't think I've seen him weirder than I've seen him in that film. And the original and the remake are worth at least one view. Let me think. What is another one that I've seen by him? Oh, the Gorgor Girls. Herschel Gordon Lewis is the Gorgor Girls. There's somebody killing off. It's a combination of a slasher and a mystery. Somebody's killing off all of these dancers at this strip club. So as you imagine, there's a lot of nudity, a lot of breastises, and it's weird. And the main thing this movie is notable for is somehow Herschel Gordon Lewis got a famous comedian from the 60s and 70s to appear in the show as the owner of the strip club, and you'll never guess who it was. Don't think big. Don't think big like Bob Hope, Jerry Lewis type big. But,
Okay.
he's a person who was well known for his stand-up and made several books of jokes and stuff like that.
I don't know.
Henny Youngman.
Ah, far out.
Henny Youngman played the club owner, if you can believe that.
Far out.
Another notable thing about Herschel Gordon Lewis, he also did a couple of kids' films, which were, I understand, pretty bad, but I want to see them. But he did one. This isn't a horror film at all, but I recommend everybody see this movie because it is a fun movie. I mean, it is so bad, but it's also a fun movie. It's called The Blastoff Girls. It's about a rock band in Chicago who hires this manager who like screws them over 9 ways to Sunday, and the ending of the movie is freaking awesome. I'm not gonna give it away. Find this film. I think they have it at somethingweird.com, Something Weird Video. And the reason I bring up this film, even though it's not horror, is Herschel. You pulled some favors from his work in the advertising industry. In fact, he's actually still writing books about advertising, if you can believe that. And he got a famous celebrity to have a brief appearance in this film. And once again, I'm going to give you 3 guesses.
I have no idea. I don't even know where to begin.
Okay, I'll give you a hint. In this movie, he plays the manager of a fried chicken restaurant.
I don't.
Colonel Sanders.
Really?
Colonel Sanders was in this freaking movie.
The actual Colonel Sanders.
The real Colonel Sanders. And in fact, in the credits of the film, they don't say special guest star Colonel Sanders. They say special guest star, and then they show the Kentucky Fried Chicken Colonel Sanders picture.
Oh, man.
This movie is bad, but the ending and how they screw over their band manager at the end of the film is worth watching this thing for.
There you go. That's cool.
And, it's interesting. The guy who plays the manager in this film is actually still acting, and he's been in a few bigger movies, and I think he was on an episode of ER as well. So I can't remember the guy's name, but the character he plays in the movie is called Bougie Baker. Interesting thing about the film is the band is actually not halfway bad.
What's that one called again?
The Blastoff Girls.
Blastoff Girls. I have to
check that one out. That is a fun freaking movie. Especially watch it with a group. That is a fun movie to watch with a group of people because I mean you'll just die laughing. It's incompetent. It's bad, but it is freaking entertaining. I don't care if a movie is bad as long as I'm having a good time.
Yeah, well, that's why I like Highway to Hell. It's stupid. It's so fun to watch. It's just weird.
I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, Highway to Hell. It's pretty good. It's Hell Cop. You got Hell Cop who guards hell. Oh, it's good stuff.
Sounds like a movie I saw a while back on Sci-Fi. It's called Route 666. Lou Diamond Phillips is in it. He plays a U.S. Marshal.
I know that.
And then they're trying to get to Las Vegas or something, but instead of using the interstate, which would take longer, which actually, if you've ever been through the portion of Arizona in which this movie takes place, you would know that that's geographically incorrect. They go on this abandoned stretch of Route 66, which was closed off, and they get, all of the U.S. Marshals that are with them get killed off by this ghost of chain gang prisoners, and of course Lou Diamond Phillips' dad happens to be one of the chain gang prisoners, and that that is used to stop all of the mayhem somehow. But that one's okay. I mean, it's it's worth it if it's on. I'll watch it if it's on, but it's one of those deals that I don't just go searching for it.
Netflix has it. It's a double.
It's a double.
It's a double. They have Just for the Hell of It and Blast Off Girls. It's one DVD, and they do have it
on Netflix.
Yeah,
watch it. You'll have fun with that one. I'm telling you, watch that one. You'll have fun.
That's funny.
But I'm going to take a moment here as we have some fun this morning and of course I closed it out, which I have got to stop doing that, and tell you a little bit more about the DuPage Libertarians again. We're brought to you by the DuPage Libertarians. They meet on the third Thursday of every month at 7 p.m. in Addison, Illinois at the American Tap Pub and Grill, located at 701 West Lake Street in Addison. $5 burgers, craft beer, what more can you ask for? Oh, and by the way, they are having an election night party at the DuPage, at American Tap Pub and Grill at 6 p.m. on election evenings. So if you're interested, you can head out there and you can go to their Facebook page, the DuPage Libertarians, and there's more information on that there. So there you go with that. But is there any sort of interesting? Is there any sort of good horror films you've seen recently?
Turn my microphone back on. There we go. No, not very much. I mostly the older ones. I'm not real keen on a lot of the stuff that comes out now. I do like, just because they're so really well made, I do like like the Harry Potter films and stuff. They're fun,
Yeah, those were. I'm amazed at how much I actually enjoyed the Harry Potter films. I wasn't a huge. I was one of these hyper-religious people back when the books first came out, and it was like, oh, I'm not gonna have any of that witchcraft crap in my house, and so I didn't pay him any heed. But I watched the movies, and I'm like, you know what? Screw what these people are saying about the witchcraft and that. These are just fun, good fantasy films, and I don't know of anybody that lost their faith from seeing like Star Wars, talking about the Force and all of that. Let people have their fun. I mean, these are just fun movies.
I worked with a guy at a TV station that quit because we started playing some cheesy horror films. Didn't make any money at it, so that didn't last very long. But he quit. He's like, I can't be associated with darkness, and so he quit. And I'm like, really? Attack of the Killer Shrews? You really think that that's gonna tempt your enemy somehow? It's Attack of the Killer Shrews, man.
Wasn't Attack of the Killer Shrews, wasn't one of the guys from the Dukes of Hazzard in that film? I want to think there was a horror film back then that starred the guy that played Roscoe P. Coltrane, and I want to think it was that one. And I believe Mystery Science Theater made no end of jokes about that.
That's awesome. No, I don't recall offhand.
Oh, I have to double check that. They did a lot of good movies on Mystery Science Theater. They didn't do just science fiction. They did horror and some dramas and crap too. But man, if there was a better show than Mystery Science Theater, comedy-wise on television ever, the only show I can think of would be Monty Python's Flying Circus. But Mystery Science Theater, man, that show kicked so much freaking ass. And in fact, that's how I got into all of these like B-type movies, and how I started looking for these like old grindhouse horror type films.
Yeah, that's him, James Best. You're right, that's him.
James, there you go. I was right for once.
Roscoe P.
Coltrane. I love it. I wish I could do his laugh that he did on that show. Oh, by the way, people don't realize this. As long as we're talking movies, Dukes of Hazzard, in which he played Roscoe P. Coltrane, was actually based on a motion picture.
Hmm.
The movie was called Moonrunners. It's from like 1977, 1976, something like that, about some good old boy moonshine runners. And it was produced. Produced and written and directed, I believe, by the guy who actually ended up doing the Dukes of Hazzard, and it was based on that movie.
Oh,
don't realize that. I've not seen the film. I only heard about this bit of trivia recently, but hey, it's trivia. So there you go.
I did not know that.
I did not know that.
Did not know that.
But let me think here. What other horror movies?
I mean, newer ones, I don't know. I saw Hostel, didn't like it.
Yeah, you know what? I not into the torture porn thing. I did like the first Saw. The first Saw wasn't so much torture porn though. It was an interesting concept. I mean, just two guys locked in a basement.
Right.
And they got to try to there's a dead body in the middle, and they got to try to get out. And that was an interesting movie. It was really, I thought that the first Saw was really, really good. It was nothing like what the later movies had become. Yeah, and it had a great twist ending, I thought, to it. Improbable, but it was still a great twist. And but I couldn't think of the sequels were just so totally different than that, and I just couldn't get into them. Oh, you want to talk monster movies? I just heard some interesting news just like 2 days ago.
Okay.
Guess what movie is, after about a 10-year absence, finally filming their fourth sequel? And they're filming it in South Africa. Only the first movie in the series was a theatrical release. And it was in the year that I believe, what was it? I believe it was 1989. Reba McEntire was in it.
Okay.
Let me think. If I mention any other actors, I think you'll get it. Fred Ward was in it.
Fred Ward.
If I mention the next two actors, you'll get it, I think. Michael Gross was in it. And he is the only actor that's been in all of the movies, the sequels, and the TV show based on the movies. Short-run series.
Tremors.
Tremors. I just heard the other day they're filming the fourth sequel in South Africa as we speak, slated for an early 2016 release.
Oh, man.
My only problem with the Tremors films, I enjoyed all of them except for the third one. The third one I thought was a huge letdown. I was excited because the first sequel, they went to it started out in Argentina where Michael Gross's character took out a huge whole swarm of no, that was the third one. Fred Ward's character in the sequel went down to Mexico to get rid of the graboids, and then Michael Gross came down and joined them. And I thought that one was really fun because they introduced the first mutation, I guess, of the graboids. I didn't like the second one. The second one, the problem is that the special effects. The biggest problem, I think, is the special effects were pretty much all CGI. If you don't have good computer-generated effects in your movie, it just takes me right out. Honestly, Jurassic Park still holds up, and they used a much more what's the word I'm looking for? Primitive CGI technology than they have today. But then you get these newer films, and then there's just stuff on the screen that are just so completely obviously computer-generated. It takes you right out of the film.
Oh, speaking of movies that they're remaking, they're supposed to be, I heard, remaking Ghostbusters.
I heard it's not so much a remake as it is a reboot. Yeah. And what they're doing is that the way I understand it is that they're going to It's going to be an all-female cast,
Right.
and honestly, I don't think it's so much a bad idea. Who's that one actress? The Melissa McCarthy is rumored to want to have a part in it, and I think she would be perfect in that movie. But I do think what they need to do, though, is bring back at least one of the actors from the original Ghostbusters to have a cameo in this film.
Yeah, have them there in some sort of capacity.
Some sort of capacity, yeah, just to sort of pass the torch kind of thing. I always thought a great idea for a Ghostbusters sequel would be to have them go and start franchising, across the country, franchising the Ghostbusters name and business. And have this from that point, you could have the stories based on the franchises in other cities or whatever. I mean, why not? I mean, oh, by the way, did you see that Lego's got a Ghostbusters Ecto-1 set that you can buy?
No.
No, Lego's got this thing. It used to be called QOSO, but I can't. They changed the name of it, where people suggest ideas for Lego sets, and if they get enough votes, that the Lego will actually make it. That's how Lego did. They did some real spacecraft. They did a Minecraft set. They even did the DeLorean from Back to the Future based on these ideas. And yeah, they did the Ecto-1, and then somebody else submitted the whole firehouse as a playset. Now, people to think that might be too expensive, remember, they did a $300 Death Star playset. They did like a $250 Simpsons house playset that was released earlier this year that I want to get so badly. In fact, that's why Milhouse from The Simpsons was actually in the Lego movie. Oh, yeah, there you go. There's the Ecto-1.
That's
Who
awesome.
does not want that?
That's awesome.
Who does not want that? I'm telling you, man, that is awesome. Now, if they'll just release the Firehouse playset, I'll be a happy camper.
That's great.
Isn't that? If you check them out, it's like Lego Idea something. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It used to be called QOSO, but they changed the name of it. And yeah, oh, that's freaking awesome. And hey, as long as we're talking about Ghostbusters and horror movies, the guy that played I can't think of the character's name, but he was the black Ghostbuster that they hired on. The actor's name is Ernie Hudson.
Right.
He actually did a horror movie several years back that I watched and actually enjoyed. First of all, the director of the film, I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but he directed a remake of 2000 Maniacs called 2001 Maniacs, and which was actually the remake was a real fun thing to watch as well. Don't bother with the sequel 2002 Maniacs. That thing was horrible. But he also did a movie, an anthology horror film called you're gonna love this, called Snoop Dogg's Hood of Horror. Direct-to-video thing, and it's an anthology. The opening is really interesting. It's about how Snoop's character becomes what they know as a Hound of Hell, and it's a total animated thing, but it's really done well. And what it is, it's an anthology, and he introduces three different stories, and each one of them has something with a character called the Hound of Hell. One of the stories is about this chick that who beautifies her neighborhood by spray painting over all of the graffiti with flowers and stuff like that. Okay. And so this one guy, played by Danny Trejo, gives her a magic spray paint can, which if she X's out somebody's name, on the graffiti, that person dies, and they die in horrible ways. One of the characters in that story gets a 40 ounce through the skull. Don't ask me how that happens. Actually, I know how it happens, but in real life, using the laws of science, don't ask me how that happens. Another story was about this guy who is a huge rapper, and he keeps talking about how he rose to power and gets this huge contract. But come to find out, he's lying the whole time, and he set up his DJ, and a Hound of Hell played by oh gosh, the heck is her name? She's the wife of Lynn Shay. She's the wife of the head of the New Line Cinema, Robert Shay, and she shows him how he lied and how he hurt so many people doing this, and the DJ at the end of it turns into a zombie to exact his revenge on the rapper. But the one that Ernie Hudson was in, there was this rich white guy who served in Vietnam with a segregated corps of black soldiers. When the war was over, he put them all up in a house and paid for everything, the upkeep and everything, out of his own pocket. And he was a very wealthy, very generous man, and everybody loved him for how he was treating them well. Well, this guy dies, and his son takes over. And his son is an extremely greedy bastard, totally the opposite of his father. Now, come to find out, I'm ruining the film. I don't care. This one's kind of hard to find. But what happens is that, come to find out, the son killed the father to get at the money, and he's coming into the inner city to this house that he put up for his soldier friends, and he's planning on taking the money and closing it down, and kicking everybody out. And he has this really rich girlfriend who just likes the finer things in life and that sort of thing. And the soldiers get pissed off, and they're led by Ernie Hudson, and they take the son and his girlfriend, they tie him up to a bed, and being the douchebag that the guy is, they give him a choice of either he can live or his girlfriend can live, and he's like, "Don't kill me here, don't kill me here," and they're like, "We won't kill you here." And then they shove a hose down the mouth of his girlfriend, and they pump caviar into her until she explodes, and then caviar and guts and entrails everywhere. Man. And like I said, Ernie Hudson was the leader of this group, and I'll tell you what, that was entertaining. I have to say, that movie was actually entertaining. If you can find Snoop Dogg's Hood of Horror, watch this one. The only other star, there's two other stars in this movie that I can think of. Billy D. Williams, he plays a pastor in the segment with the spray painter, and Jason Alexander is in it as a record producer in the one with the rapper. Both of them pretty much bit roles, and as long as I'm going on like a chain of films here.
Well, you mentioned Danny Trejo. I love From Dusk Till Dawn.
I did not see that, but Danny Trejo, I absolutely loved him in the trailer for Machete that was in the Grindhouse films.
Oh, there you go.
Grindhouse. If you had not seen that, that was awesome. But I saw the movies independently on TV. Don't see them on video or TV. That is a movie that has to be experienced in the theaters, because these movies were not about the movies. Planet Terror, which was a zombie film starring Michelle Rodriguez and Bruce Willis, and then there was another one, Death Proof, which was starred, was it Jeff Bridges? I can't remember, but it was about a serial killer. It's kind of a slasher film, but the guy's weapon was his car. The movies are not great. They're good. They're entertaining. But you have to see this in a theater, because in the theater, it was a flop because people didn't get the concept of a double feature because it's not been in theaters. And you had to see it. The movie Grindhouse was about the movie-going experience. It wasn't about the movies. And you had to see it in the theater because they had fake trailers for films, and they had and it's funny, they had a commercial for a quote-unquote local Mexican restaurant, and all the color was like faded out, and so the food, which was probably looking pretty good when they filmed it, was like looked all disgusting and faded and that. And it's interesting in the Death Proof portion of Grindhouse. They were actually seen eating at the restaurant that was in the commercial, so that was pretty cool. But if you ever find Grindhouse in its full form in a movie theater, definitely go see it. It is fun, and like I said, it's about the movie-going experience, not so much the movies. It's a throwback to the glory days, so to speak, of the 60s and 70s, when double features and cheesy type films were the norm.
Yeah,
but you definitely
commercials and stuff. Well, they do it now, but not like
they did back then. Before, it was like a lot of, local businesses could afford it. If you really want to get that kind of experience, there's a theater in Wilmington called the Mar,
right?
Which is, I think, one of the last independently operating movie theaters in the Chicago area, and they have like commercials for local businesses. And you used to get that all the time. Now that's really hard to find because all of movie theaters nowadays are like getting their stuff digitally, shipped to them via satellite and wireless, and it's like the biggest problem I have with movies these days is the fact that they're pretty much digital.
Yeah.
Now, for some movies like the Lego Movie, it works, but there are some movies out there that, especially horror films, that just don't really work in that kind of way. With Grindhouse, what they did was to give it the old film look, is they put like all of the scratches and stuff on it. For all I know, they may have actually filmed it on film. People don't do that anymore. They don't make films like that, and it really hurts some of the horror films.
All about the highest quality. I love what they do. I mean, I think it's fantastic. However, sometimes there's a grittiness missing from westerns.
Yeah.
Of course, nobody really makes westerns anymore, and like horror films should have some dirt. It should be sloppy a little bit. It works somehow.
Now, it depends on the quality of the script of the horror film, whether that's going to add anything.
Well, or the intent, like Mask of the Red Death, I love it. It's in color, it's big, it's bright. That should look good. That one should not be, dirtied up. But Killer Shrews, it looks awful, and I think that adds to it.
Exactly. I mean, some of these horror movie remakes do work. If you haven't seen the remake of Last House on the Left, definitely go see it. It's not as gritty as the original, but the script is tighter. And if you can forgive like the last 2 or 3 minutes of the film, which you don't need, it's not really integral to the plot, it's a much, much better film than the original was, and I highly recommend everybody see it. The one thing I liked about the remake over the original is that the 2 annoying cop characters in the original got killed off in the first 5 minutes of the remake. So you don't have this comic relief which ruined the flow of the original on screen there. And the only other movie remake like that I thought really, really worked, or movie remake that really, really worked, was the remake of Dawn of the Dead. That one was really good, and that one didn't need the grittiness either. I think that one was actually filmed on film as well. But a lot of these things require the grittiness. I mean, it adds to the film. I mean, you can't just put people in bell-bottom pants and driving Ford Pintos to give it the 70s feel. I mean, you have to have a whole atmosphere.
Good sometimes.
What's that?
Yeah, having them a little unpolished is a good thing sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the big problems with today. Everybody wants digital, everybody wants polish, but that's where we are. But you know what I hate is when sometimes on this show we really get going, but then it's boom, time to end, and we're at the 2-minute mark here. So once again, I want to thank you for coming on, Eric. Thank you, Eric, for coming on the show. Again, always, ever since we started having you on the show, I mean, it's you've been a huge asset, and I'm not kicking you off the show. It's not why I'm building you off. I'm just genuinely saying that.
I have a huge what?
You've got a huge presence. But sadly, Leck couldn't be with us today. He's got some personal issues he has to take care of. Next week there will be no show because of a personal issue here, and I need to devote my full attention to it. But we will be back the week after with our big pre-election show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, we will see you later. Once again, from the Side Project Tower and Morris, this is Jim.
And from Lockport, Illinois, it's Eric. Hi there.
And we will see you all again in 2 weeks from today. So have fun, all.
Those guys are cool.
Yeah. They know how to talk to girls.
talk to chicks. Yeah, all you want.